Hi everyone, the lesson is Classes and Objects Part 2, Declaring a Class in Objective-C. We'll be using Xcode version 11.6 and Apple Developer Docs and API referencing. You need to complete the previous lesson, which is Classes and Objects Part 1 Intro, before this in this video series. You'll be learning about declaring a hello class. As usual, it's going to be practical demonstrations. So let's start by creating an Xcode project and make sure to create a new Xcode project and if it's iOS single web selected, make sure to go to macOS for this lesson and create command line tool. Click next and then give a project name and select the language as Objective-C and click next and select a location where you want to save this, right? So let's say over here, right? So let's say we want to create it inside this. Okay, so then click on the left hand side of the project navigator and click on the file, right? Awesome, right? Okay, now let's do the practical. So in the previous lesson we learned that we have to declare an interface, right? And then you have to implement that and create the implementation, right? So implementation, right? This part. So for us to do that, what we'll be doing is, okay, we'll create on the project, right click and say new file, and from this you can select a Cocoa class because it's a macOS project. Cocoa class, click next and then you can give the name of the class. So let's say I want to create a class called hello class and it's a subclass of NS object as discussed in the previous lesson. Click next and then just click create. Then you will see, like this as discussed in the previous lesson, you will see the .h file, hello class.h, which has the interface, and the .m file, which has the implementation, and the implementation imports the hello class.h. That's what we discussed in the previous lesson. And in the previous lesson, we discussed that in the interface, you will be declaring things like properties and methods. So let's say it's a hello class, so I just want to display a hello message. So you declare a property. Let's say if it's a message, I can declare it as a NS string data type and I can call it as a message. In this case, it's a person class, so it's a property called first name and last name. In my case, it's a hello class, so I'm going to declare a property in the interface. So at property and the data type NS string because I want to store a string. And then it should be a pointer because in Objective-C, when you declare an object, it should be a pointer. NSString is a class and you are declaring object of it. In this case, it's going to be a property. So the property is of type NSString, which is a class. So the property is actually an instance of NSString. So you have to put a asterisk, meaning you have to make it a pointer. So for example, you have to say asterisk, whatever the property name you want. In my case, so it's a property message, right? So it's of type NS string. Okay, so now I declared a property. Then the next thing is you can declare methods, right? But for this exercise, we will not declare any methods, right? So because of that, in this exercise, I don't have to implement anything in the implementation because a property, there's nothing to implement. What you implement is mainly the methods. So I don't have a method. So in that case, my class is done. My declaration is done, right? So which means I have declared a simple class. So once you declare the class, then the next step is to declare the object of it. So I got my basic class called hello class where I can store a message, right? Then where do I declare the object? I will usually declare the object in the main method. So over here in the main method, I'm going to, let's put just a common message as starting, right? So I want to declare an object or instance. So then in the previous lesson you learned when it comes to declaring objects, you have to allocate memory and then initialize after allocation you have to initialize. That is the theory. So this is the syntax you use to allocate and initialize. So what I will do is I'll just copy this from here and then go into my program and I will put it here, then I will explain to you. So here the class mean the class you want to create the object. So what's the class you want to create the object? That is hello class. Where is that class? Hello class is in the file hello class.h. So the first thing you have to do is in the main method you have to go and import the header file. So you got option to import using double quotes and option to include using angle brackets. Because the hello class is a user defined class, you have to use the double quote option, not the angle bracket option. So you have to select this and just put your class name hello class.h, the .h file, which is this over here. So now you, after importing, now you can use the class inside that file, which is hello class. So let me copy the name and come to the main method. So the class should be your hello class. So you are creating an instance or object of hello class, but then again here you have to put the name of the class. This is the theory. So the syntax is, as you saw earlier in the earlier lesson, you have to allocate memory. So to allocate memory, you have to call this method alloc. In Objective-C, you call it as passing a message. So you are passing the message alloc to this class, and hello class, the alloc is a message to the hello class. In other words, it's a method. So does the hello class has this method alloc? If you look here, the hello class does not have a method called alloc, but the hello class inherits from NS object. So the hello class will get the methods inherited from NS object. And earlier, in the earlier lesson, you saw that when you look at NS object class, it has methods such as alloc and init. So this alloc and init are methods coming from NS object class. So because of that, the hello class is a child, because hello class is a child of NS object. Because of that, on the hello class, you can call alloc and init. And alloc and init are methods inherited from the NS object parent class. So that is why on the hello class, you can call the alloc method. So then it allocates memory. But immediately after allocating memory, you have to call the init method. Now the syntax in Objective-C is, whenever you are passing a message to a class, when you say passing a message, meaning you are calling a method. So if I say passing a message or calling a method, both are the same. Whenever you are passing a message, or let's say whenever you are calling a method, the syntax is you have to do it within square brackets. So in Objective-C, if you see square brackets like this, where you got a class name and method, it means you are calling a method. So according to syntax, now you know this means you are calling a method. Always you put square brackets when you call a method. So once you call the alloc, what happens is it returns a raw object. So on that raw object where memory is allocated, you have to initialize it. That is the theory. So you have to call init method. So because of that, you have to put this other square bracket. So the first square bracket is to say that you are calling the alloc method, and on the return object, raw object, you want to call another method. That is why you have the other square brackets outside. So you initialize it, right? And then object is a pointer. So now you got a pointer as a new object. If I want, I can call it as h1 or any other name. Now you got a object called h1. Now on h1 you got a hello class. Hello class is the interface, right? So if you look here, the hello class is the interface of the class. Of course, the implementation is also hello class, but the idea is the hello class is the interface. So whatever available in the interface, the outside classes can use. The outside class is the main.m or the main method. So now from the main method, you can refer to the whatever you have declared inside the hello class, such as the property. So property is a variable, which is, you don't call it as a variable, you call it as a property. Properties are used to store data, and properties are public by default. So it's a message. So you can access this property from outside. Meaning from h1, you can say h1 dot, see it's giving you access to the property message. And from here you can see that once again you can see that it's the Xcode is helping you to understand that message is a NS string pointer, and P means it's a property. So you are accessing the property P, meaning the property message. So if you say message, now you can assign data because message is a string. So on the message you can give a message. So let's say uh, welcome to the Objective C course, right? Something like this. And now you will see an error immediately. So the red color means it's an error. What does it say? It says string literal must be prefixed by asterisk, by at symbol. String literals must be. What does this mean? This means in Objective C, whenever you write a string literal, you have to put a at symbol in front. So I can click and say fix it. You will see that it adds at symbol. So any in Objective C, any literal value such as strings and numbers, etc. I mean literal values has to be prefixed with a at symbol, right? Okay, so now keep that in mind, right? And that is how we distinguish in Objective C. That's how we distinguish a C style string versus Objective C style string. A Objective C style string should prefix with at symbol. Now you got the message. That's great. Now let's print it, right? So let's say you just want to print it. So to print you can use nslog, and let's say you can say okay, message is equal to, then you have to put a comma. You have seen this in our previous lessons before this, right? And then you put say h1 dot message, which is a string. Now message is a NS string. So if you look at our previous lessons on output etc. and NS log, you will see that you have to give a format specifier when you output. So message is a NS string. So the format specifier for NS string is percentage at. So when you give percentage at, the program knows okay that you want to print a object, let's say a literal object literal. Once again, string literals must be prefixed with at symbol. So if I click this, I can say fix, then it will add a at symbol just over here. See, it added it because as I said earlier, Objective C string should be prefixed with at symbol. That is the theory, that is a syntax. Awesome. So now I'm able to run this. So if I click the run button from the top left hand side, it should run the program and it should give me the output. So it runs. Let's see it works. It says messages and it says welcome to Objective C course. That is the message. So this is our first exercise about classes and objects. So in this exercise you learn about how to declare a class, right, which is which you and you learn that the class has always an interface, which is the public interface for the outsiders. Outsiders meaning compared to the class, the main.m is outside. It's outsider, it's outside program, though it's in the same project. So for the outside world, for example, for the main method, the interface is the hello class interface declared here. It's the interface methods and properties are public. So now in this case I don't have implementation because I don't have any method, but now the main method can access this interface through the instance h1 and h1.message, meaning because in the interface you have a property called message, you can assign data and print it. So with this you successfully learn about how to declare classes and how to declare objects, and especially when it comes to object, about allocating and initializing, the important core concepts, right? And that object is always going to be a pointer. So that's the end of this first practical, and let's now look into the slides. Okay, so we successfully completed declaring a class and object, and we did a practical demonstration and you learn about declaring classes and objects, alloc and init. References was Apple Developer Docs and API, and have a look at our other videos for practicals on Objective C. So we are very excited to see you in the next lesson, and see you in the next lesson.